lush green fields of the Philippines, rolling through tropical village scenes. New friends made along the way, sharing stories at the break of day.
Hello and welcome to Arizona Trails, the Philippine Tales. My name is Steve and welcome to my 1-year anniversary of being a foreigner here in the country of the Philippines. Now, is the word foreigner derogatory? I mean, that's basically what I am. I know in America they use the word immigrant, but here immigrant isn't used as much as the word foreigner. I mean, if you don't look Filipino, then you're a foreigner. It doesn't really matter if you're from America or Australia or Canada or wherever you may be from, you are a foreigner. Now, in this video, I sort of want to make it an instructional video, sort of give some background on what our ideology is on immigration, some of my experiences that I've had over the course of the year being in a foreign country as a foreigner, and what expectations you might have when you decide to leave your home country for a foreign country. So again, I always say it doesn't matter where you are in the world. When you get tired of the place that you're in, or you're looking for something different, that's where that economic term comes in. What are the trade-offs and what are your opportunity costs? Now, before I get into immigration, let me preface this video and start off by saying that when I came to the Philippines, I said that I would abide by the rules and laws of the Philippines, which means that if I ever became someone that the Filipino people don't want to have, I think they call it here a non-desirable, or if I was a criminal, then the country of the Philippines has every right to fine me, detain me, deport me. So that is their right. So how does one travel to another country? I mean, what is it that allows you exits and entries into different countries around the world? Now, the Willy Wonka golden ticket is called a passport. So this passport, it's sort of funny. Let's look at the statistics 2025 that says how many US citizens have a passport. Now, basically, the number is less than half of Americans, which is actually lower than other developed countries. Now, let that sink in for a little bit. America, but compared to other developed countries, less than half of Americans have a passport, which says that more than half of Americans don't understand the rules of immigration. Let's take America, for example. Now, this passport identifies me as a U.S. citizen. It tells who I am. Now, when I take this into another country, there's a thing called a visa, and that visa will be twofold. The visa says, why are you here and how long will you stay? So it identifies me. There's a stamp that says why I'm here in the Philippines and how long I'll be staying. And then another example, In the United States, right now, just in the state of New York, there's over 400,000 illegal immigrants. Whoa, hold on there, cowboy, pump your brakes. Did you just say illegal immigrants? Okay, that is the fundamental understanding of some Americans. They don't know that there is a difference between legal and illegal immigrants. And just what I explained about this passport, that means let's not use the word immigrant, but foreigner that comes into America should have one of these to explain, hey, I'm from the country of Mexico. I'm from the UK. I'm from Australia. They have a book that identifies who they are, and then they obtain a visa that says why I'm coming to this country and how long my stay is. Now, Flora and I just recently went to Vietnam. Before we went to Vietnam, we had to go online and fill out a visa request form. So on this visa request form, that's exactly what they want to know. They want to know your passport information. They want to know why you're coming to the country of Vietnam. They want to know how long you're staying. Matter of fact, they even wanted to know how much money I was going to spend during my trip there. So they wanted all that information before they would approve a visa that would allow Flora and I to go into that country. So now, of course, you know that we were supposed to go Monday through Saturday into the country of Vietnam. But what happened? Our plane tickets got canceled for Monday and rebooked us for Wednesday. So we only had Wednesday through Saturday. Now, Flora and I had already put in a request for visas, but because the date changed, which is the date of entry into that country, we had to fill out new visa requests to put in the proper dates, entry and exit. So that was something that needed to be done. Now, there's also a caveat that they said there in Vietnam. That caveat said, you agree to follow the rules and the laws of Vietnam while you're in this country. So what we're saying is that countries like the Philippines, countries like Vietnam, and I would imagine countries around the world have this caveat that says, we reserve the right that if you break our laws, we can fine you, detain you, and even deport you. So why is it then America is sitting there saying that they're a developed country, yet less than half have passports because obviously they don't feel the need to travel. I mean, maybe if you're rich and you don't feel the need to travel, or you're poor and you don't have the means to travel. So you're stuck in America without the knowledge of getting visas or going to other countries. So that makes you think whether or not America is a developed country. Now, even Flora, when she first came to America, this was her passport book. It identified her as from the Philippines. However, in this passport book, she actually had to go through the Department of Foreign Affairs in both the Philippines and the U.S. embassies. She was granted immigration status to go to America, and she arrived in America. Now, let me read the stamp, and just to let you know that when you come to America from a foreign country, The stamp says U.S. Immigration, Los Angeles, which is the port of entry, processed for temporary evidence of lawful admission for permanent residence, and the employment is authorized. And it has an A number, which that A number actually is her, it was her green card number. So before Flora actually stepped onto the soil of America, she had her passport, which identified her in what country, and it also identified her with immigration status, saying that she was lawful to enter the country, work inside the country. And so then she would, of course, then receive her green card, and she was in America. Now, I remember Flora getting upset during periods of Obama's presidency and, of course, Biden's presidency, of how many illegal immigrants or how many foreigners were coming into America that you don't know who they are, you don't know where they're from, you don't know why they're coming in, and you don't know how long they're going to stay. But wait, Stephen. There still is no such thing as an illegal person. We're all human beings. You know, we all come and we want to live and do the best, what's right for our families. Okay. But the problem with that is that if that is the true intention of a foreigner coming into the country of America, they would have one of these. They would be granted lawful entry into that country and given permission to abide by the laws. However, that is not taking place in America, hence it is illegal. And ICE should be allowed, a developed country like America should be allowed to do what every other developed country in the world does: fine, detain, deport. So that is the true view of immigration, whether to America or any other country in the world. So when I see places like Oregon, California, Illinois, New York, places like that has people that don't understand immigration are protesting. I remember too, I think in one of my tinfoil hat to retirement videos, I had a news article of a woman in Chicago, not Chicago, Chicago, that said, I am a victim of a carjacking, even got my arm broken, but no, I don't want that President Trump guy to send that Nazi-style brown shirt military group of individuals to come in and start deporting all of my friends, all of my neighbors, all of the people that I know that are working hard for their families. Well, maybe you didn't know that Hector the gardener was actually from Colombia, was a drug dealer, trafficking, and you didn't see the Cadillac parked in his garage, or maybe, some other hints that might have told you that maybe they're doing something else nefarious in the country. It's fine that you have immigrants. That's what America was built on. The foreigners, the immigrants, people that bring money into the United States and contribute to commerce. But what type of commerce? I mean, Hector the gardener might be that drug trafficking, people trafficking, child trafficking individual making money from all of his exploits. And while you really are a middle class, maybe less than middle class U.S. citizen, doesn't even have what Hector the gardener has. You're telling me that you don't want a developed country government to locate these individuals and find them or detain them or deport them. That is an issue and a problem that, for some strange reason, Americans don't understand. But see, that's the problem. Now that we got immigration done and out of the way, and hopefully you understand that what's taking place is why we have those laws in America, and they have every right. The government has every right to do that, just like every other country in the world that is developed, who has people that have these documents, and they got their Willy Wonka golden ticket where they can go wherever they want to go into the world, depending on the strength of the passport, of course. They can go anywhere they want. Now, okay, so that's the ideology behind immigration. So hopefully that wasn't too long, hopefully that wasn't too boring, but that is sort of the premise for when you decide to leave whatever country. So now I want to touch upon, well, why might you want to leave the country? Well, I do those tinfoil hat to retirements just to show instances of things that might want where you think about and say, wow, things are getting crazy here. But again, trade-offs and opportunity costs. That is the big item to learn to see if the juice is worth the squeeze. So now, my reasons were obviously economical reasons, to go to a country or a place to receive the same goods and services, or even different goods and services that you wouldn't find normally in America. An example, I just went to the store the other day. I saw some ribeye steaks from Australia, labeled Australia beef. And Australia is one of those countries that have lots of cattle, so let's give it a try. And actually, it was at a very cheap price. I mean, what, you're paying over $30 for a steak in the United States, when I can just go to the store, pick up some Australian beef. I think my ribeye was about $3, somewhere between 3 and 6. I can't really remember. I know it was around that price, but still not $32 for a steak. Now, so that, again, opportunity costs. Australian beef, something different. Especially beef is hard to find here in the Philippines. The biggest thing here is chicken. So if you like chicken, this place is great. Another reason, too, is as we get older or you approach retirement age, where are you going to spend that retirement age? Look around in America. How many older people do you see? Unless they look young, they still have their mental faculties, maybe still working even, because, they can't afford to retire at the younger age. But, in America, basically we're raised to go to school, be in the confines of school, go to work and be in the confines of work, and then we get old, and then we get sent to an old folks home where we're put into a wheelchair, parked in the corner somewhere where our drool starts coming out of our mouths. Next thing you know, we're in hospice, and then you're dead. Canada, they have that free health care where they'll even pay so that you can unalive yourself. That's a good opportunity, isn't it? That if you just want to chuck it all away and say, okay, that's it, I'm tired, I've had enough. Hey, Canada will actually take care of you. Wow, isn't that something? To be honest, that's not how I would like to go out. I want to be able to go to a place that my money stretches, because, you know, Americans, no matter what they do in life, will say that they've worked hard and they've got their money and they want to go someplace, and hopefully their money will last until they do die, till they do pass. So that is one of the other reasons why I decided to come to the Philippines, to try and get those goods and services at a cheaper price. So what is it that's going to get you to move to another country? All right, so I covered immigration. I've covered reasons why you might want to leave. I mean, how do you want to go out? How do you want to make this life better for you? You know, that's the thing too in America. You know, even talking about immigration, you've got these rich doctors, lawyers, and judges who are basically radical communists who, instead of wanting to go to the beach and enjoy themselves someplace, they choose to just live in America, not travel anywhere, and then make outrageous communist decisions. One group of people lower than them are teachers, where they teach communism. And then you've got a bunch of minions that go out in places like Oregon and Colorado and California and Illinois and New York. So that is what's taking place. Every week I'm going to post economics. Every week I'm going to post maybe some funny little pictures that show some of the Democrat decision-making processes. Myself personally, I'm neither a Republican or a Democrat or really anything. I remember when I was 18 years old and I was so excited to register to vote. You know, I was taught wrong. I was taught that Democrats were for the poor people and Republicans were for the rich people, and vote Democrat. And later I found out Democrats enslave the poor people. And rich people, they help to enforce it and set up other people to teach it. And there you go. Now you got a world that's like that. So now I covered immigration, covered lifestyles in America or other countries. I mean, if you're not happy in the UK, you have a bad immigration. Speaking of immigration in the UK, I started watching some YouTube videos. I'm trying to think of the title that I had found these videos under, but I think it was The Biggest Lies That Immigrants Tell Immigration Officers at the Airport. And it was all UK. Just to give you some examples of how people do try to work the system. The UK is getting better at it. There was a husband and wife that came from India, and they had 6 suitcases, and, you know, vacation, husband and wife, doesn't seem too speculative. But when they opened up the suitcases, there was no clothes, there was no belongings. It was 6 suitcases full of tobacco and cigarettes. And their intent, they were from India, and their intent was to sell and distribute the tobacco and cigarettes. Well, there's taxes that the government wants. So they figured up all the cigarettes and the tobacco, and they figured that the tax on that would be over 10,000 pounds. So, of course, they're not going to pay 10,000 pounds in tax. They tried to deceive the UK government of 10,000 pounds. So, what did they do? Cigarettes and tobacco got confiscated, and they weren't allowed entry into the UK, and they got deported back to India. Another instance, there was a person who had lived in the UK, but they left the UK to go back to their home country. And then when entering the UK again, they tried to say that they were a student. Again, identity, the reason why you're coming in, and they put a student. Now, what a student does, a student says that you're coming into the country as a student, but you're not going to work. And therefore, you don't pay taxes because you're not working. So this individual turns out that he has a wife and kid in the UK. He's had a job for the last 3 years. And what tipped the immigration officer off was, he's handing in school documents of classrooms, courses that he's took. The immigration officer asked him about his schooling and his classes. He couldn't even talk about what he was learning. And a matter of fact, he screwed up in saying what school he was attending. So once they found that out, then it was just a snowball effect, found out that he was living there, and of course, they deported him. Third instance of the UK I watched, and this will be the final one, person from Uganda. He was obviously a man, probably in his 30s, but the passport was a fake passport, and it said that he was 16 years of age, which means that in the UK, if you're a minor, it's harder to deport you. So passport was saying that he was only 16 years old when he was obviously in his 30s. And I think he was from Uganda. Yeah, I think he was from Uganda. And so they went to give him a DNA test to determine his age. And of course, he escaped during that time and is running free in the UK. Now, that's just the UK examples. Again, imagine what's taking place in America. Now, let's flip this. Now, there's a couple of different types of YouTubers. One YouTuber has visited the Philippines and maybe they didn't like it. So all they do is they talk bad about the Philippines and that's their videos. Because, of course, we've all traveled somewhere and it doesn't have to be country to country. I mean, you can travel within the states and you say, wow, it's a nice place to visit, but I wouldn't want to live there. Or, yes, we visited it, but we're never going to visit it again. Yeah, it's sort of like that for those people. Then there's the people that tell you the Philippines is so great, it's like unicorns and rainbows, and that's not it either. So hopefully I can provide you some instances with me as, my 1 year here in the Philippines, and just to give you, so it's sort of story time, and it's just for you to know what could happen, and again, trade-offs and opportunity costs. So here in the Philippines, just to give you some examples of when they treat you like a foreigner, of course, you probably heard this before. Skin tax on items. Like you go down to the markets and they're going to charge you a little bit more. Now, when I was in America preparing to come to the Philippines, I understood that there would probably be a little higher charge because the prices are so low here. I didn't really care. I mean, I was like, if I can get something that's half, 50% cheaper than what I'm getting it for in America, and they want a little bit more, and I'm still not paying the same price I was in America, then by all means, I'm going to go ahead and pay it. I don't care. However, you become acclimated to the economy and how much you're spending. I mean, again, 50 pesos is $1. Okay, I'll give you an example. I have a suki, which basically is someone that you go to that gives you a good price on items. They don't take advantage of you, and you get pineapples. And the going price for pineapples, and they cut the pineapple for you. All you got to do is just slice off or start eating it like an apple. 35 pesos for a small pineapple, 50 pesos for a large pineapple. Well, there was this person that helped my wife and I out at the time that we had our motorbike accident and I broke my knee. She always wanted us to buy a pineapple from her. So one day I said that I would. So she said 50 pesos. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll pay 50 pesos. In my mind, thinking it would be a big pineapple. Well, I came out of the grocery store, said, okay, I'm ready to buy the pineapple now. She says, 100 pesos. And I was like, wait. She goes, but this is a big pineapple. And I was like, yeah, but you said 50 pesos. And she's like, oh, okay, 50 pesos. So I get the pineapple, but it was a small pineapple. And I knew that pineapple I could get from my suke for 35 pesos. And again, 50 pesos is $1 for a pineapple, not bad. But as a foreigner, she was trying to get an additional 50 pesos, additional dollar out of me. So it charged me $2 for a small pineapple, in which that pineapple is less than a dollar. So that happens. Another advantage they might take is sometimes when you're driving either a bicycle or a trike or something like that, they also try to increase the price, but they have a different thing. There is a thing called Pacquiao, which means that you pay for everyone or you pay for seating. So in a trike, you can usually fit 4, 6. You can usually fit about 6 people into a trike. So that means if you get into a trike, you're not just paying for yourself, you're going to pay Pacquiao or 5 seats that might not be taken. And, city, it's usually not bad in the province, but once you get into the cities, they're really aggressive about that. I know that my wife and I got into a trike, and he says, you're going to have to pay Pacquiao. My wife just said no. And so he waited for other people to come fill it up. So then 2 more people got on. So now we got 4 people, but there's still 2 more seats available. So he's waiting and waiting and waiting not to take off. And we're right next to the mall that we just came out of. So we're in the mall, we walk across the street where the trikes pick you up. Well, what he did was, after waiting, and he didn't get the people that he wanted, and then so what he did was he just drove to the parking lot of the mall we just came out of and told everybody to get out, because we, or me, was not going to pay for those extra seats. So sometimes you'll run into that. They also have a mentality of first come, first serve here. So another instance, grocery store. Lines are really long in the grocery store. I mean, imagine getting 1 basket of items and the line is so long, you just put the basket on the ground, and as the line moves, you kick it with your feet. So I got doing that. I look culturally savvy in the grocery store by kicking a basket as the line moves. However, I got to the grocery store earlier when they first opened up. Now here there are Sari Sari stores, and they like getting in there too. And they buy all their items to sell. And it's individual items like small little packets of coffee, little small packets of sugar. They don't count how many packages they buy. They're rung up individually. So now I went into the grocery store, and I think I was buying a couple of cans of coconut cream, a bag of brown sugar, a thing of laundry detergent, and a package of paprika. And that was my 1 basket. And I thought, oh, I'll be in and out. But what these people do is they bring their whole family with them, and each family member hits an aisle. And I tell you, there was a person with 10 baskets, and a cart holds 2 baskets. So there was 5 carts, and there's only 1 line open. And of course, these baskets are full of these 1 little item things, which would take well over a couple hours to go through. And I said to the lady, I says, I have a small basket of items. And she says, no, you have to stay in line, first come, first serve. And now I've been here for a year, so a lot of the cashiers know me, and a lot of the baggers know who I am. And so the bagger, he goes with his lips like that. And that means the next aisle was about to open up. So as soon as he communicated that to me, I got over into the next lane, got out before the other lady did, and everybody else got right behind me. So there's a first come, first serve. But sometimes that first come, first serve doesn't apply. And I'll give you 2 instances of when the first come, first serve doesn't apply. So we'll stick with the grocery store. I've seen Filipino people take 2 items. They're just shopping for a couple of items. They'll cut in the line. They'll go straight to the cash register, and they'll say, can you do a price check for me? And while they're doing the price check, they just say, okay, and they ring them up right then and there. So they just cut the line doing a price check to get ahead. So Is that a tip or a trick? I don't know. I don't know if a foreigner can do it, but it definitely worked for the Filipino. Another instance, I was paying an electric bill. Another long line that you have to go to. It's not like in the United States where you can mail your water bill or electric bill. You actually have to go to an outlet, stand in line, hand them your bill, and then go through the process of then paying said bill. So I'm in this line, and all of a sudden, the guy that was in front of me allowed somebody else to cut in front of him, but then he went first, and then that lady was now in front of me. So again, and I said, as a foreigner, I said this, I said, first come, first serve. Apparently, that's the time they don't understand. She understood what I was saying, and she knew it. The people behind me knew what I was saying and understood, but it was allowed to take place. So again, be prepared for these kinds of instances that take place. You are a foreigner. You are not Filipino. You are a guest. And I usually say always go to a place that treats both you and your money well. Well, you are. Don't misunderstand me. The Filipino people are the nicest people, I would say, worldwide. They are the nicest people, very accommodating people, but you are the guest, you are a visitor, and Filipino rights take over your rights. And you will be blamed for things. I think in my last video I talked about how I caused the brownout in my barangay. You know, like I said, we didn't know when they were going to install the electric. We didn't give our neighbors any type of warning saying, oh, you're going to lose your electricity when they do come out. But because the electric company failed to, one, report, and two, failed to reconnect the electricity, who did the people blame? Me. I was the foreigner, and I was the one that didn't reconnect the electricity for everybody that's in the barangay. So it was sort of interesting how easy it is for the Filipino to point the finger when they feel wronged. So be mindful of that. But other than that, great place to live. New products, different products that you will find in other countries. Some things are easier in, say, America to get. But as the world gets more expensive, more supply chain issues will take place in America, and you won't be able to either afford or get those things that you do want. So you might as well go to a country in hopes that the same goods and services are there before they're not available and still at the cheaper price. Now, don't get me wrong, because the economy is increasing, you know, everywhere in the world things are getting more expensive. You have to understand that for you as an individual to leave your home country for another place, opportunity costs, trade-offs, good and bad. I mean, I could even say that when I came here to the Philippines, you know, we had again, remember we started building our house in January of 2024. When we started our build, we said, hey, we want a 300 square meter house. They said, no problem. It will take us about 8 months to a year to do it. So we came in September of 2024 to know that the house would soon be done in January 2025. And for those that have watched all my videos and seen the build, you knew where I was at 52 weeks. And then finally moved into the inside at 77 weeks. And here we are going on 84 weeks now, and the outside still isn't done. So be prepared that things don't go as you plan. Matter of fact, when I came, because I knew that we were going to be living in our house by January of 2025, I had already set up how much money or what to buy. So I bought a motorcycle when I first got here just to putt around on until we moved into the house. Once we moved into the house, I knew that I wanted to buy an SUV. But because the house wasn't done at that time, now I'm paying for the continuation of the rental. I'm paying for the continuation of the electric. I'm paying for a continuation of the water. And then I'm also paying more money to the workers to continue work past January. Let's see. I don't want to sound like everything is negative, but I want you to be prepared that things don't go as you envision or plan even. I might have not, remember my motorcycle accident happened in March. That means if I would have moved into the house in January, if I would have bought the SUV that I intended on, I probably wouldn't have broken my leg. I wouldn't have had to go to the grocery store. Flora and I went to the grocery store, put that into the top box, got our laundry, put that on top of the top box, and next thing I know, I hit the little dip in the curve, from going from the grocery store to the main road, and my bike just kept on going back and crashed the bike, broke my knee. I went ahead to pay for surgery for my leg. So again, life comes at you no matter where you are in the world, both good and bad. I mean, it's not, the examples that I gave seem like they're all negative, but they're just things that are outside of the expectation. So when you finally decide to retire and live in a foreign country, again, it doesn't necessarily have to be the Philippines, but when you do that, remember that you're not really trading one hamster wheel for another. I mean, in a way you are, but like I've said in last week's video, what are you getting in return to get the benefits that you are seeking? There's going to be ups and there's going to be downs. So that is enough of me rambling about America. Hell yeah. Thank you for joining Arizona Trails of Philippine Tales, getting an idea of what it might take for you to move to another country, what immigration is all about, some experiences that I have had in 1 year. I hope to have many more years of experiences to talk about, and more positive ones. I mean, the house videos, they're the most positive. If you watch a couple of my other videos where I go walking around the town, shopping for food, or I go to Fiesta, those are the good moments. So if you can watch those videos, or karaoke moments, making, and my song even says, making new friends along the way. That is what I do, because why? The Filipino people are very nice people. And to experience it's a joy compared to meeting new people, even in America. It's a joy. So even though you have to be prepared on some things, you are a foreigner. Is it derogatory? I mean, is an illegal immigrant derogatory? Either that or it is what it is. So thank you again for joining Arizona Trails of Philippine Tales. Have a great day. Bye-bye.